We actually have Code Talkers with your full Mech extended package that you're used to seeing. We also have, is that Chainburn bringing up the 18 slot bracket? What is this regional? Don't make 30% of you that have not smashed the ever-living crap out of that subscribe button. Smash it so you guys don't miss out. More honest content. Well, this is a jam-packed regional here because the decks that bubbled are going to be at the end of the video here. You'll get a little bit of a exciting, interesting talk through for that. But your top 8 breakdown here, 3 Kashtira. Wait a minute. This is supposed to be, new format, Yeah, Kashtira is still a very dominant force in the metagame. Who would have guessed that? Not me! We had 1 super heavy samurai taking down the top cut. I'm not surprised in the least to hear that. We also had Sword Soul. Wait, really? Sword Soul? Yeah, Sword Soul actually got a top. Now, we do have Mech and then a Code Talker deck using the Mech package. This kind of side versus good stuff. We had 2 of those in top cut, but they are separated for all intents and purposes. And then we had Purely make a top cut appearance as well. Let's pass on over so you can see these deck lists. All right, the first deck list we're going to be looking at here is Cash Money Dollar Bills. Oh yeah, look. We definitely bumped up our hand trap ratio here. Oh boy, Drone Lockbirds. We got the Ghost Ogres in here. The Shifters are back, and we got the Ashes, and of course the Bysteel package is back. I can't say that I'm surprised to see that all of the good stuff has kind of returned back to the playing field. So kind of keep that in mind. Hi Wagon, how are you? Keep in mind that this deck is still very much a threat. In terms of innovations and adaptability, keep in mind that this is still the very early stages, so you're still seeing things adjust for what people are going to bring to the table. Also some Book of Moons here, definitely going to be another strong option. Also the One Desires with the triple pot of prosperity here. That's a little bit of an interesting inclusion that I haven't seen a lot of people deep dive into. But once again, this kind of opens up the door for all sorts of crazy things that I think people going to try to mess around with. So good stuff for first place. Next up here we have Sword Soul. Wow, Sword Soul actually brought it up relatively strong on the back end. But I think the most important thing about this deck is how simple this is. You look at this on paper, this is the most basic thing that you could hope for in the world. You just got to see, your board breakers like this, the imperms, or, the follow-up for this. If you also Siege Roll, a lot of decks are going to hit that auto concede button right now. And that's actually really important. All right, when you have auto win cards like this, you can just board in and have access to, it's good. Also, right now we're in a very heavy board format, so you do have to emphasize how good that this card is actually going to be for the generalized purpose of paralyzing the opponent's board. Also, clean up aisle 9 for evenly matched. I'll see this list is playing the Ice Jade, a grind in here. Not really something that we've seen a lot of, but I do think that this is an incredibly powerful card to be adding into the pool. Next up here, oh look, it's more Kashtira. Now, what I think is interesting about this is we have Gamma in here instead of Shifter, instead of, the other hand traps. So, Drone Lockbird right back in here, doing its job. And then, of course, you do see the Dimension Shifters moving back in here as well. Side deck, you actually have double Lava Golem with the Sphere mode. So, you are seeing players kind of return back to the sense of things here, where you're seeing, more of that push back into things here. And I think that that's actually kind of incredible to see. Overall, a lot of your same defensive options that you've seen. This 1 pot of Desires and this triple pot of Prosperity that we're seeing here is definitely something that I think might actually stick around for a little while. So kind of keep that in mind in terms of the tech choices. Also, enemy controllers, you got to love all of the defensive options that you can kind of bring together here. So, all right, I will say good stuff. Next up here, Super Heavy Samurai. How many hand traps can you put in a deck? Well, the answer is enough, actually. This is interesting. So we can't do the Scythe lock like the OCG can, but they could, if they wanted to, in theory, actually play, what is it, Dagda to set this for another form of an interruption. That'd be kind of interesting, but little tech choice here with the Lancias that we can actually have access to, which... See, the Thunder outside agrees, all right? The Morale Attack and the Lancias are the way to go. It looks like it's the future here. I mean, outside of that, a lot of the super heavy samurai builds, they feel incredibly the same. But when you start to kind of get into your tech choices in terms of, you know, how you want to build things, the little differences in, you know, subtability, I think that you do kind of get to different lengths. Next up, see, this is what I was talking about. This is the Code Talker good stuff. So you have your Mech package in here for you to get the ability to toggle. You also are playing the Firewall package in here, but where you're going to get your value here is like the Signet backdoor. And then, of course, I mean, let's be honest here, Signet Codex is just a ridiculous card for this deck. The ability just to go, oh, hey, I can go ahead and search for all of my free extenders that I could ever actually want is actually nuts. I see that we are also playing the one Signet Circuit in here as well. So that's kind of interesting. We're also playing Fire Prison. I have not seen Fire Prison see any play whatsoever. So this is a little bit interesting to actually see on the pickup here as well. Man, yep, there's the Neo Tempest Hertz, the Dark Fluid, and the regular Firewall. We're not playing Singularity, but I mean, when you have access to 3 firewalls, it's going to get you about the same basic result. Okay, next up here is our Purely deck. Now, this is a lot more Dark World than it is Purely here. Now, what's interesting to me about this is, you know, a lot of the Purely decks are just going for, you know, the splash of this with, say, a brown. Now, this build went way further, where it's still going to make an attempt to take advantage of, you know, the Purely stuff, set up the big Ignore here, but you've extended out the Dark World package to be more of your deck. And I actually kind of like this. I haven't really seen people try this idea out, and I'm kind of curious to know if this is going to stick around as like, hey, you know, maybe if we extend out the Dark World package more for, you know, longer amounts of viability, maybe there is a possibility that this is the way to go. I don't know. But for a very early look into the metagame, this is kind of interesting, I will say. So good stuff. Next up here, we have Kashtira. Oh boy, how much more Kashtira can you really throw at me at this stage? So down here, we actually have the Divine Carnates. Okay. We have Dimension Shifters for defensive options. This build ripped out the Ashes and didn't even play Droll. It just said, nah, you know, like Shifter and Gamma should be enough. That's a very daring pick with how the metagame is, you know, setting up. But since we're in the very early stages, you kind of get away with a little bit more shenanigans-y stuff. So that's kind of interesting to really know. I mean, outside of that, we're focusing on enemy controllers. We have more defensive options here with the books, which I think is fine overall. There's not a lot else to really say. Like, in terms of how this deck plays out, it's very, very linear. And because you haven't really seen any, you know, destructive hits to this deck just kind of gets away with doing the same repetitive things that it was doing up to this point, which doesn't hurt it in the least. So, good stuff. Next up here, we have more Mech. Oh boy. I'm glad to see the Mech is still doing good. This build didn't even put in any of the new Firewall stuff because it doesn't need to. While it has been discussed, and I have seen the new Firewall stuff actually taking off to some point. Sticking to Old Faithful here. I mean, I guess, excuse me, we've had some Drolls in the deck now, and then we're citing some Exceed Encores because this deck doesn't really want to deal with the cat. If the big cat comes out, this deck actually does kind of struggle to that. You might not want to hear that, but, you know, the cat is a little bit of an issue sometimes, but not all the time. It's a big issue. The cat is not something that this deck wants to do. But yeah, you still do full Firewall combo. Or, well, excuse me, Access Code Talker OTK combo. We're not playing the Singularity stuff, which is something you can do. But once again, it did not see play. So that is your top 8. 9th place Bubbling. Poor 9th place. It always feels bad, but it's actually Dark World. I'm actually incredibly happy to see that Dark World actually got the chance to do something. I do see that we are citing the Vanities ruler down here. That's a cute little tech choice. The fact that you can, you know, go full Dark World everything. Oh, look, I drew the Vanities ruler. Let's go ahead and drop that on the field now. I mean, what's your opponent supposed to do? The answer is nothing. Drag Down to the Grave has also been another pretty classic side deck option for this deck as of late, which, I mean, once again, has been pretty decent. And, of course, they're already preset back here. They got one skill drain. I actually like to see that. Outside of that, deck still feels very much the same that it has. You kind of just still turbo through, set up whatever, very power card that you need to see for your deck, and you should effectively be able to go off to the races and win the game. So, good stuff. Now, our last list that we have here was a 18th place Chainburn. Now, I'm going to be completely honest with you. I haven't seen Chainburn in forever. One note, though, they did want to play Sphere Modes down in the side deck. They just didn't have them for the event. And is that Bad Luck Blast? Target one face of monster your opponent controls. Take damage equal to half its attack, and then inflict damage to your opponent equal to the damage you took. This card is destroyed by an opponent's card effect and sent to the graveyard. Inflict 1,000 damage to your opponent. You can only activate one Bad Luck Blast per turn. And we are playing the Surprise Chain to activate only as Chain Link 2 or higher. See, the Thunder knows. Apply the following effects depending on the chain. So 2 or more excavate the top cards of your deck equal to the chain link used. 3 or more send the top cards of your deck to the graveyard. 4 plus draw a card. This is kind of cute. I wouldn't have really considered, these new options for this deck, but it is kind of nice to see the little innovation and things that have come together for this. So good stuff. So what do you guys think? Please leave a comment down below. Tell me what you guys think. Patrons, thank you.
Thank you so much for watching. Check out these other videos.